Plan B is dead. Structure is the future. Every generation has its illusion of freedom. For my parents, it was the corner office and the pension. For me, it was the laptop lifestyle. The promise that if I could work from anywhere, I was free. But freedom without structure is just chaos with a passport. That's why I say Plan B is dead. The future belongs to those who build systems, not excuses for their sovereignty. Today, I want to show you exactly what that means. How I went from being a US real estate developer to living, earning, and banking globally. And how more than 1,000 entrepreneurs and high wealth individuals around the world now use my systems, my playbooks, to protect their money, time, and most importantly, their sanity. I started my career in real estate development in the United States. Big projects, bigger stress. I loved the deal making, the smell of sawdust and fresh paint, and new beginnings. But after years of non-stop grind, the market changed. It fell off a cliff overnight and I hit a wall. In 2007, I told myself, 6 months off. I'll travel through Latin America, clear my head, learn Spanish, and come back refreshed. 6 months became a year, and I still didn't speak Spanish. And then a year became a decade. Now, almost 20 years later, I'm still here, building. No longer structuring condo deals, but building freedom structures. During those travels, I met people from practically every walk of life. Expats, investors, wanderers, and one pattern kept repeating. Everyone in this space was chasing a plan B, a spare passport, a backup plan, an escape hatch. So I thought, maybe I should do the same thing. I had time, curiosity, and I've always been a stubborn son of a bitch. And as such, I've always held the belief that I could figure anything out. So I taught myself how to obtain Austrian citizenship, legally, through descent. And you know what? It worked. At first, it was just a side project for myself. But then friends started asking for help, then friends of friends. And before I knew it, I wasn't developing real estate projects anymore. I was developing people's freedom. But as I helped more clients, I noticed something deeper. Everyone, including myself, always thought the end game was the passport. It wasn't. Because the passport alone doesn't fix your taxes. It doesn't protect your assets. It doesn't keep your bank account open. What truly matters is structure, the legal, financial, and geographical framework around your life that makes sovereignty sustainable. That realization changed everything for me. It turned me from a traveler, one of the original digital nomads, into an architect. Not of buildings, but of systems. The idea of a plan B made sense in the old world. You could just hold a second passport, maybe throw in a bank account in Switzerland, and call it insurance. But the world has changed. Today, every country participates in automatic exchange of information. Every bank asks, as you all know, where are you a tax resident? Every digital platform runs compliance checks. So when someone says, I'm off the grid, I laugh. If you have a bank card, you're on the grid. You can't hide. You can only design. And design begins with structure. Aligning your residency, company, and banking so that every part of your life tells the same story. That's the difference between being a digital nomad and being a digital sovereign. That triangle, residency, company, and banking, is where actual freedom is found. And two of the strongest foundations for that triangle are Paraguay and Panama. Paraguay is one of the safest, simplest, and most strategic residencies on earth. Territorial taxation, permanent residency in 2 years, minimal presence required. 3 days to get the temporary residency, 3 days to convert it to permanent in 2 years, and then 1 day every 3 years after that. Once you're registered, all foreign income is legally untaxed. It's a blank canvas for entrepreneurs. Panama plays a different role. It's the financial engine of Latin America. Banks, foundations, and corporate law refined over a century. We set up a Panama company that sits inside a private interest foundation. This structure gives you anonymity, asset protection, banking access, and most importantly, global credibility. Together, they form a dual-based system. Paraguay for tax residency, Panama for structure. Sovereignty by design. Now we're going to look at a couple case studies. Our first is Jake, the American entrepreneur. Jake was an e-commerce guy from Texas. Jake was doing well, mid 7 figures in annual sales, but the success came with a brutal reality. Over 40% of his profit went straight to taxes. He didn't mind paying his fair share, but he wanted a structure that rewarded global operations instead of punishing them. He came to me saying, I don't want to hide anything. I just want to be smart. So we built something legitimate, transparent, and optimized for how the world actually works today. Step 1, we separated the business from the individual. We moved Jake's core business operations into a Panama SA company, a jurisdiction known for its pro-business environment, low corporate tax, and territorial system. Panama taxes only profits sourced within Panama. Jake's business sells primarily to North America and Europe. So under Panama's domestic law, most of that income is foreign source and thus exempt locally. The company invoices customers through payment processors connected to the Panama entity. He operates bank accounts under the Panama structure and maintains full accounting records. Compliant, clean, and auditable. Step 2 was the U.S. compliance layer. Here's the important part. Jake is a U.S. citizen, so it's not as easy for Jake as it is for everybody else from any other country in the world. He can't just walk away from Uncle Sam. The IRS classifies his Panama company as a foreign corporation. And because Jake owns more than 50%, it's a controlled foreign corporation. That means he's subject to the GILTI tax. GILTI stands for Global Intangible Low Taxed Income. Not quite as scary as it sounds. It basically means you don't have to pay the full U.S. corporate rates on everything, but it's a mechanism to ensure you pay a minimum tax on offshore profits. Typically, this amounts to about 10 to 15%, depending on your deductions and foreign tax credits in a specific year. So Jake files everything correctly, full disclosure of ownership, and U.S. tax compliance down the line. Step 3, we added residency and a strategic alignment to Jake's structure. To complement the business structure, Jake obtained residency in Panama, a territorial system with no tax on foreign income. Now, again, this doesn't erase his U.S. tax obligation, but it allows him to base his personal life and expenses in a jurisdiction where local tax is light and international regulation and reporting is simple. It also protects him from potential claims and allows him to utilize the foreign earned income exclusion. This means he can deduct up to $130,000 of income each year. Jake's married, so this doubles to $260,000. That means part of his active salary from the Panama company can be legally earned abroad and partially exempt from U.S. tax. Now for the important part, the results. When everything was aligned, Panama company, Panama residency, and proper U.S. filings, the numbers changed dramatically. Before restructuring, Jake's effective tax rate was approximately 42% combined federal and state U.S. taxes. After restructuring, tax rate of approximately 12 to 17% total effective global tax rate. Full compliance under U.S. tax law, legal entity abroad with audited books. No red flags at banks or with payment processors. Jake didn't dodge taxes. He designed his exposure legally, transparently, and efficiently. That's not hiding. That's sovereignty through structure. Our second case study is the non-American. Introduce you to an entrepreneur named Maria, a business consultant from Spain. She was earning solid 6 figures online, but every time she looked at her bank account, she saw that more than half of her income, poof, vanished to taxes and social charges in Spain. She loved her clients, she loved her work, but she didn't love being penalized for success. Maria didn't want to disappear, she wanted to evolve, to live freely, operate globally, and stay 100% legal. So we helped her do exactly that through residency, structure, and banking alignment. Step 1 for Maria was setting up a new legal home. We began by moving Maria's tax residency to Paraguay. Paraguay's system is simple. It only taxes income earned inside the country. Her business served clients in Europe and the US, which meant her income was foreign sourced and exempt locally. Once she received her residency card and RUC, which is basically the tax registration in Paraguay, she could officially file in Paraguay, showing the world that she had a legitimate tax base with zero foreign tax exposure. That single certificate gave her something priceless: fiscal jurisdictional clarity and the ability to live anywhere she wants without being attached physically to Paraguay. Step 2 was building the ownership structure. So for this step, we created her Panama Private Interest Foundation. This was really the centerpiece of her entire structure. Think of the foundation as a vault. It doesn't trade or do business. It simply owns and protects assets. Inside that foundation, we established a Panama Sociedad Anónima, which acts as her holding company. The SA can hold shares, own companies abroad, and issue invoices if needed, but the ownership itself remains fixed under the Panama Foundation's umbrella. That means Maria doesn't personally own the shares of her SA. Her foundation does. And because the foundation has no shareholders, there's no public record tying her name to it. Yet everything remains fully documented, auditable, and compliant under Panamanian law. At the operational level, her Wyoming LLC serves as her customer-facing business. The LLC handles payments, client contracts, and merchant accounts. Simple and transparent. So the ownership flow looks like this. She has her Paraguay residency tax base, a Panama foundation, which sort of sits on top of everything, a Panama SA, which is a company that sits inside the foundation, and then a Wyoming LLC that's owned by the Panama company. Each layer has a clear purpose: legal separation, asset protection, and tax transparency. Step 3 was the Swiss banking and Lombard loan. Once her structure was established, we helped Maria open a Swiss private bank account in the name of the foundation. Why in the name of the foundation? Because the foundation, not Maria personally, is the legal owner of that Panama company and its global assets. The Swiss bank views the foundation as a high-level wealth management entity. This allows for a clean ownership chain, strong governance, and full due diligence. The account was approved after a detailed KYC process with all documents, including a residency certificate, foundation charter, and source of funds letter, all verified. After a few months of activity and deposits, the bank offered her a Lombard loan, a private credit line secured against her foundation's investment portfolio. This gave her instant access to liquidity without triggering, I should say, taxable distributions, or altering ownership of the underlying capital. She can draw funds in USD, euros, Swiss francs, reinvest globally, or even finance property, all while her assets remain protected inside her Panamanian structure. That's the difference between being a freelancer and being a private client. The outcome? Maria didn't escape the system. She learned how to build within it. Her results speak for themselves. Tax optimization from nearly 53% in Spain to 0 on foreign income in Paraguay. Fully declared and compliant. Maria's journey wasn't about hiding wealth. It was about designing sovereignty. She didn't move money, she moved architecture. And now her life runs like a private family office, structured, protected, and entirely free to live life under her own terms. That's what happens when you stop chasing Plan B and start building the plan. People often ask me, Jerz, why do you care so much about structures? And the truth, I always answer, is that I've lived both sides. I've personally had accounts frozen. I've had payments delayed because some compliance officer somewhere couldn't categorize me. I've watched talented entrepreneurs lose everything. And the funny thing it wasn't because they did something wrong, but because they didn't document what they did right. My early years in real estate taught me a rule. Blueprints don't limit creativity. They make it possible. A skyscraper without plans collapses. So does a global life. And here is what most people get wrong. Structure doesn't actually kill freedom. It protects it. Most people think sovereignty is about escaping. It's not, or at least it shouldn't be. It's about understanding the rules so well you can win within them. When you build structure, you eliminate fear. You eliminate guesswork. You eliminate dependence on any one government. And once fear is gone, creativity explodes. That's why structured people build bigger empires. They're not hiding. They're focusing on what actually matters. I've seen this hundreds of times now. The moment somebody goes and gets their residency, foundation, and banking aligned, they stop worrying about the system and start playing the game. Almost 20 years ago, I started this journey, and I've learned a few things. I've learned you don't find freedom, you engineer it. Money follows structure. Structure follows vision. And vision starts the moment you decide to stop living reactively. I left the US chasing adventure. I stayed because I discovered autonomy. And autonomy only exists when you own the framework that defines your life. Now, I like to call this the 4 pillars of structured freedom. Tax savings. File once, file smart, file 0 where legal. Asset protection. Own nothing, control everything. Liability protection. Separate personal and business life with precision. Privacy and bankability. Be visible to those who matter and invisible to those who don't. Each pillar is a wall in the fortress of sovereignty, and the door to that fortress opens through residency plus structure. So what do you want to do with your life? What do you want it to look like 3 years from now? If your answer involves words like control, peace, flexibility, then you already know what to do. Start with a foundation, literally and metaphorically. Build with Paraguay, a stable zero-tax base, and with Panama, the structural powerhouse. But most importantly, stop collecting Plan Bs. Start building your Plan A for sovereignty. When I look back at that real estate kid from 2007, I smile. He thought 6 months on the road would fix his burnout. He had no idea it would rewrite his life. What began as a vacation became a vocation, helping others reclaim control. Because freedom isn't found in flight, it's found in form. The form you choose, the structure you build, the system you master. Plan B is dead. Structure is the future, and the future is now. Thank you.